Hello and welcome. This webinar is part of the Legal Awareness Initiative taken by the Law Gurukul. In this webinar, we will learn about cyber law and its need in this day and age. I am Anoshka Kudo and it gives me great privilege to introduce this. To begin, we must understand, Shabna, can you switch to the next slide, please? To begin, we must understand what cyber law is. Cyber law and IT law is referred to as the law of the internet. The cyber law definition says it is a legal system designed to deal with the internet, computing, cyberspace, and related legal issues. The apt introduction to cyber law is it is paper laws in the paperless world. Cyber law is an umbrella term used to include intellectual property, contract, jurisdiction, data protection laws, privacy, and freedom of expression. So cyber law is not a branch of law itself, but it is an umbrella for all these laws that are governed under this. It directs the digital circulation of software information, online security, and e-commerce. Now the question arises, what are cyber law and what is its importance? The importance of cyber law can be understood by three simple points. It dictates all actions and reactions in the cyberspace. It all the online transactions from buying, selling, Amazon, everything is taken care of by cyber laws. All online activities are under watch by the cyber law officials, from creating Instagram accounts to Facebook accounts to any spamming or any sort of thing that happens on the internet are governed under cyber laws. Now you must be thinking, why do we even need cyber laws? Just like any other law, cyber law consists of the rules and the dictate how people and companies should use the internet and computers, while other rules protect people from getting trapped into the cybercrime run by malicious people on the internet. So the prime need of cyber law is to maintain law and order during online activities. If somebody is found breaking rules or cyber laws, the victim or the person or a firm can take action against that person or make them awarded a punishment. Uh, can you shift to the next slide? Okay. Uh, cyber crimes are basically of three categories. That is the first, which is done against the person, second, which is done against property, and third, which is done against the government. Now, what are the crimes that come under it? The first crime under the person is usually cyber stalking, impersonation, harassment with the use of a computer, or transmission of obscene material. Things that are done to property is computer vandalism, unauthorized computer trespassing, or copyright infringement. And under the government, that are cyber crimes that are done against the government can include hacking of government websites, cyber extortion, cyber terrorism, and sending computer viruses. Now, all of these seems very big words and a lot to take in. Shabnam will now be simplifying all of this and relating it to the sections that are relevant in the IPC. Shabnam, over to you.
All right. Thank you, Anushka. Let me just change the slide. Okay, good evening to all. As Anushka introduced me, I'm Shabnam, and today I will be sharing a bit few information regarding intellectual property rights and cybersecurity in social media. Now, what is intellectual property? It is almost everything under the sun which has a creative origin and some form of commercial value. And the acts which are regarding intellectual property rights are listed in this presentation below. I'll just read it out. Indian Trademark Act 1999, Copyright Act 1957, and Information Technology Act of 2008. We will be dealing with few sections from these acts. Now, under intellectual property rights, we will be talking about copyright and trademark specifically today. And including that, we will also, get a brief information about piracy. Let's start with copyright. Now, basically, copyright is just a legal term which shows ownership of a creator or an enterprise over their own intellectual property. Since we're talking about, cyber security, even databases are considered as literary works under Section 13 1A of the Copyright Act. Moreover, computer programs are also protected as computer software. All right, now moving into copyright, one of the major form of infringement that is seen is linking. Now, the word linking might be very familiar to all, but how would it, associate with copyright infringements, right? Basically, we have website A and website B. Now, B creates content, and it is, of course, their own intellectual property. What A could do is, while they are making content for their website, they can link to something within the website of B. And this can be accessed in a way that the profits that they could earn through their website is bypassed to A. To make it more clear, I'll explain it through an example, which is the case that is shown in the screen, Shetland Times Limited versus Jonathan Wills and another. What basically happened here is our plaintiff is a newspaper website, and basically they have a physical form of paper and e-papers. What the defendant did was they took a headline from Shetland Times and they linked it to their original e-paper. What happened here was what I explained before, that the profits got bypassed to our defendant. This was considered as a copyright infringement in the British court. Now, another form of copyright infringement is a very infamous word, and any student of today might have heard this: plagiarism. Now, plagiarism doesn't have any direct form of laws. However, under Section 57(1) of the Copyright Act, it is considered a copyright infringement. Even though it doesn't have a specific law, as we say, ubi jus ibi remedium, wherever there is a right, there is a remedy. And for the same, since this is done dishonestly, you're dishonestly misrepresenting that this content is mine. Of course, to a greater extent, it could also be considered as a fraud or cheating. And now the next slide is trademark. Basically, when you see a product, you don't need to see the brand name in bold letters written all over it. You can identify the brand or the enterprise or the creator just by a logo, or maybe just merely the artwork of the wrapping will remind you of that brand. Such indicators are trademarks. Now, since we're talking about the online realm, trademarks can also include domain names of a website or a thing called meta tag. We'll be getting into the details right away. Now, what in terms of domain name, something known as cyber squatting can happen. So this form of trademark infringement is when a well-established domain name is not exactly copied, but a replica is made in such a sense that it creates confusion to the users. For example, we'll talk about the case Yahoo Inc versus Akash Arora and ANR. Basically, what happened is, we all know Yahoo.in. It's a very popular domain name. What our defendant did was they created a similar sounding domain name, which is yahooindia.com. Now, any user who is searching for Yahoo will come across both of these websites. It might divert the traffic which was supported to Yahoo Inc. However, the court agreed that this was a trademark infringement, and the defendants were restricted from using the domain name yahooindia.com. Similarly, this can happen in a reverse way, which is a reverse domain name hijacking. What happens is, small content creators might, create an established domain name, and this might get stolen by rich corporates or so. And what usually happens is, the small content creators, just give in because legal proceedings are a bit hefty on the pockets. It is unfortunate, of course. Another thing we said was meta tags. Now, what meta tag is, when you search for a service or you search for a product, you search certain keywords in Google, right? And the search results come by matching these words. What miscreants do is, they take the keywords which could be the trademark of an established creator, and they hide it somewhere inside their website. So once you search for website A, even website B shows up in the results, which is basically like stealing somebody's limelight, right? And that is the case, Opidal and Larsen versus Advanced Concept. What happened here was Opidal and Larsen was a established law firm, and Advanced Concept used the two words Opidal and Larsen, which very well is obviously a trademark of our plaintiff, in their keywords. And again, the court agreed that this was considered as a trademark infringement. Moving on to piracy. Piracy isn't a very alien word to us. We've seen ads against it. We've seen movie makers, directors, actors who are advocating against it. Because, of course, it's a very awful thing. You put in your blood, sweat, and tears into some work, and then somebody else just comes in, within a click of the mouse, steals away your content. Of course, under 63 and 63A of the Copyright Act, it is considered a copyright infringement. And under 65 and 65A of the same act, the police can seize such pirated content. But what is interesting is, in today's online world, it is difficult to trace back the actual perpetrators. They are usually anonymous. And for as a relief for that, there is something known as John Doe order. It is also known as a rolling Anton Pillar order, or Ashok Kumar order. What it basically does is, it gives the right to the plaintiff to search and seize any pirated content from the miscreant's website, in a way that they can protect the evidence before it gets destroyed by them. So what this does is, it helps to intervene before the infringement happens, so as to protect their content from being further pirated. All right. Now let's move on to our next topic: social media. We all are social media users. In fact, there are about 400 million of us in India using social media. And the crimes done on social media isn't quite alien to us. So I will be briefing few of them for you today, and some legal aids we can seek underneath it. The most popular one, which people don't actually realize is very much punishable, is cyberbullying. It comes in many forms, and the entire Chapter 11 of the IT Act could be used against them in terms of what they precisely do. And especially Section 66 and 67 of the IT Act, it is basically regarding obscene content or obscene comments. Another popular form of crime is phishing. What phishing basically is, it's a fraudulent link, and it takes you to a form or basically anywhere where you need to enter your personal information, and this information is stolen. It's usually passwords, and this stealing of information is of course punishable under Section 43 of the IT Act. And under the same comes unauthorized access, which is again punishable by the same act. Another form is cyber stalking. Now, there isn't a specific law for cyber stalking yet. However, if the victim is a woman, they can, of course, seek aid under Section 35D of IPC, which is generally regarding stalking. And if it goes too far, there is Section 500, if any form of defamation happens by leaking private information. Or as we mentioned before, Section 67 of the IT Act, which is regarding obscene content. Then we have fake profiles. We've seen it everywhere. We've seen it. We have seen fake profiles being made for popular celebrities, or fake profiles being made for matrimonial scams. All of these they come in two different categories. If it's identity theft, it's Section 66C of the IT Act. And if it is, cheating by personation, it is Section 66D of the IT Act. Right, I've come to the end of my topics. Thank you all for your cooperation. I pass the stage on to Anushka.
Thank you, Shabnam. This graph perfectly concludes the increasing number of cyber laws and the need for people to be aware of it. Since the year 2008, there has only been an increase in cyber crimes, and the future doesn't seem to show any signs of it reducing. I'm sure we know a lot more than just basics of cyber law and have no doubt that it is of utmost importance in today's world. Thank you, Shabnam, for such an insightful presentation and for enlightening us with so much of knowledge. Last but not the least, thank you all for joining us and hope you learned a little more about cyber law today. I am Noshka Kudo, signing off until next time. Thank you.